welcome everyone. Today is January 13th, and this is our full meeting. February 13th. This is our full meeting of the Village of Gulf Manor's Village Council. If you would stand as you're able to get us started as we do with the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, everyone. And Mr. Pridnock, would you get us started with a roll call, please?
With pleasure. Ms. Cheney?
Here.
Mr. Fisher?
Here.
Mr. Knipp is absent. Mr. Marks?
Here.
Ms. Snyder is absent. Mr. Van Harn?
Here.
Is there a motion to excuse Mr. Knipp?
I've heard from Mr. Knipp and Ms. Snyder, both presenting the reasons for not being able to be here. Mr. Knipp is ill, and Ms. Snyder has another engagement that.
Motion to excuse Mr. Knipp and Ms. Snyder.
I'll second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Very good. And we have, I'm presuming you all have looked over the agenda that we have today. I would ask for a couple of amendments to that. First, actually, it looks like Chief Denny Mater's already been moved to the front. The other piece is we're going to be asking for an executive session at the end for matters of property purchase. So we'll have that at the end of our council meeting. For those who don't know what that is, it's an invitation only. We don't do any kind of voting within it, but our live feed will go dark and basically won't come back until the end of the meeting. Is there a motion to?
Motion to add that to the agenda.
We need to add an appointment to the agenda too? Is that on here?
It is part of my mayor's report. I was planning on doing
okay.
that. So, yes, I will be making an appointment to the executive committee this evening.
So we have a motion on the table by Mr. Marks to add executive session for purposes of property purchase. Waiting for a second.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, everyone. And let's see, has everyone had an opportunity to look at our the minutes from our previous council meeting? I noticed that there was a reference to Mr. Donellan on it rather than to Mr. Butler.
I apologize, point of order. There was no motion to approve the agenda, just to add executive session. Was that to
Okay.
also approve the agenda?
Motion to approve.
The agenda by Mr. Van Harn and second by Mr. Marks.
Yes, I apologize. I presumed it was all wrapped up.
All voted, all
Aye.
in favor?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Without objection, I take that as unanimous. The what we're looking at now is the minutes. Does anybody have a motion to approve or to amend them at all? If you've had an opportunity to look at it, I noticed one error where it had referred to Mr. Donellan as being the solicitor of that meeting. Should read Mr. Butler. With that change, any other changes? All right, we have a motion to approve as amended.
Motion to approve.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. All right, and I don't believe we have anybody else registered to speak, but we do have, unless there's a correction to that, we do have our Fire Chief Denny Meter here with the Fire District. Are you prepared to give a report?
Very brief this evening since we're just fairly fresh into the new year. I sent Mr. Hurth the copy of the run totals for the month of January. Nothing out of the ordinary. Again, it's very heavily focused on EMS, not much in the way of fires, which is a good thing. So people are being safe. We're happy about that. The final report for the 2022, where I discussed the district, where we stand, where we're moving to. I'll have that completed by Friday because it's going to go out with the packets for our fire board. So on Friday afternoon, when that goes out to the fire board members, I'll email a copy. And it should be in a size that he can email to everybody. It's a PDF. So we're doing it electronically rather than printing out hundreds and hundreds of pages. By the time you get it for 10 or 15 people, you've used a ream of paper. So I want to avoid that. So that'll go out Friday afternoon. Our next fire board meeting will be this coming Tuesday, February 20th. Again, that's 4:30 at the fire district headquarters on Blue Ash Road. So any of your council members, residents, business owners, anybody would like to come, They're always welcome to be a guest at the firehouse for that meeting.
And I'm sorry, could you state that date again, please?
February 20th, that's next Tuesday.
4 p.m. you said?
4 p.m. 4:30 p.m. And we usually get through it in about an hour unless we have something really pressing, but it's pretty laid back and runs pretty smooth. I did want to make a note that we've been working towards getting our instructor site recertified for CPR instruction, and I'm happy to report that it is up and underway. So we have worked most recently with Silverton's Village, their maintenance department, to get them all up to speed on CPR and AED use. So I'd extend that invitation out to your department heads, police department, service department, if you have people on staff that are here during the day. We're happy to provide that. We would do that for your departments at no charge. If we started getting into different groups, they would have to offset some of the costs just for printing the cards and getting the materials. But for your maintenance department, your police department, we're going to include that as part of the service that we offer. And we're going to make the same offer to the municipalities at Columbia Township and Deer Park as well. So that is available. Please contact me if you're interested in getting something set up. Couple 3 hours, we can do it down here. We're happy to bring our equipment down here to get that done. So please reach out to me. We'll get something on the books. So it's a great wintertime training. Be inside and do things.
Yes,
So
Thanks for doing that.
and then with that, is there any comments from the council or the residents that you've heard, good or bad?
I had one little teeny disappointment.
Okay.
And that was, I actually, my wife was concerned because we were getting so tired and falling asleep early
Okay.
that we thought maybe we had CO2
Right.
in the house. So I called, but I didn't see how the running was. But your guys came.
Okay.
They,
Oh, okay.
I'm only joking.
They probably did that as a.
yeah.
Actually, technically, they should have made a report for that. So.
But
I'll
they
actually
did a
say
wonderful
something.
job. They showed up
So.
and my house was fine. Comforted my wife.
Good.
And it was meant to be a joke.
Oh, no. But actually, it actually is something that, even though it is something kind of on not a big emergency like that, there are things. First off, they're reportable to the state and the federal government. So we need to report that. But also, it also shows that we were down here providing a service to your residents. It would be the same if it was at Silverton or Deer Park. We want to show the communities this is what we do. So.
Yeah, I wanted you to get credit
So,
for it. So
I
that's why
appreciate,
said
I'll make
that.
sure that, as a matter of fact, the lieutenant is working in a couple of days, so I'll be sure to,
Okay.
we'll get it squared away, get it in the
They're
books.
Very good guys and.
Great, I'm glad to hear that, it. Thank you.
All right. Do we need a motion to accept the fire district report?
Motion to accept the fire
I don't think we ever
We
had
don't need a
motions to
motion to
accept.
accept.
Yeah,
Yeah.
just the mayor's report is.
Right. Mayor's court report. Mayor's court report.
I've seen that.
Sorry, mayor's court report.
All right.
Any other questions? All right. Thank you,
Well,
Chief.
I appreciate you having me, I will see you next month, and if there's, once every annual report comes out, if there's any questions, maybe that you might have beforehand, that you'd like to ask here at the meeting, if you want to send them over to me, just so I can kind of have a couple things prepared, but I don't think it's gonna be anything that, is gonna be surprising to anybody, so it was a pretty good year last year, so we're happy.
So when we get that, I will load that into the packet for the next meeting and send you a link so you can get to that.
Yeah, and then once it's out of my hands and into your hands, that is a public document, so feel free to post it on the village's website, include it with the packets, we'll eventually get a link to our website. So it's there for everybody to see, so, and again, questions, feel free to contact me, happy to answer.
Great.
Thanks.
Thank you, Chief.
All right, thank you.
Take care.
Thank you. Thank you.
Take care.
All right, I have several items in Mayor's report. The first, to recognize Black History Month, being the month of February. This is recognized as Black History Month, not just in the United States, but in Canada, United Kingdom, Ireland, and the Netherlands. Black History Month originated in the U.S., where it's also known as African American History Month. The precursor was Black History Week, which was first celebrated in 1926 as an educational endeavor by Dr. Carter Woodson, who died in 1950. The specific calendar week was chosen because it coincided with the birth dates of both Abraham Lincoln and Frederick Douglass. These gentlemen's birth dates have been celebrated together by American Black communities since the late 19th century. in recognition of the significant impact these two individuals had on Black American life. Dr. Woodson pushed to bring Black history into public consciousness, noticing the role of African Americans and in American history was either misrepresented or missing altogether from history books. Black history was largely ignored by historians and the general public until the 20th century. Woodson is attributed as the significant force in changing that through the coordination of teaching history of Black Americans in the nation's public schools. Much of the history of Black people wasn't known by Blacks or whites until Black history was taught in school. The research and dissemination of Black history has countered myths that slaves were well treated under slavery or that Blacks had been better off under slavery. It, also, by lifting examples of extraordinary individuals, provided examples of Americans for children to look up to, emulate, and have pride in. Black History Week grew in popularity over the following decades, with mayors across the United States endorsing it as a holiday. Black History Month was first proposed by Black history educators at our very own Kent State University here in Ohio and officially became recognized by President Ford during the celebration of the United States bicentennial in 1976. While Black History Month has helped the growing culture identify among the Black community, its significance to all Americans cannot be understated. We cannot make America great while blind to one another or to our history and without examples of greatness from the full spectrum of our citizenry. All these things are part of the shared history of the United States. I was fascinated to see what many consider to be the unofficial Black national anthem sung last night at the Super Bowl. That was the first time that it was sung at the Super Bowl last night. It was, my understanding is that it was sung exactly 123 years after it was first sung. It was written in 1900 by, let me see if I get these names right, James Johnson, and he wrote it as a poem, and then his brother, John Johnson, wrote the music to it and was sang first on February 12th in 1900. So that was a fascinating piece of living history that we had for Black History Month last night at the Super Bowl. The second thing I wanted to bring up was committee kind of definitions. There was a couple questions I got since our last meeting about what committees are supposed to do, what the definitions are. So I wanted to bring attention to the definitions of the community of the committees that we have: the Executive Committee, Finance Committee, and the Community Engagement Committee are on our website. There's some updates that need to occur in terms of who's on those committees and who the chairs are and everything. I was just going to read for the record the definitions of the executive, finance, and community engagement. Executive works with, pardon me with my glasses this evening.
Is that off the website?
Yes.
You can just pull it up on the website.
Yep. Okay, so executive works with the administration to monitor and make recommendations to council on strategies and legislation related to safety, health, operations, infrastructure, property maintenance, police, environmental, and other issues not directly related to financial issues. Purpose of the Finance Committee works with the administration to monitor and make recommendations to council regarding the financial health of the village, including revenue, expenses, and financial operations. And the Community Engagement Committee works with the administration and recommends to council strategies to understand community needs while enhancing and increasing engagement and outreach with residents. Now, we have spoke in our previous council meeting, I think specifically, and the one prior to that, about having a strategic planning committee to help us expedite the next steps recommended in development of our strategic plan. And if you recall, examples were sent out over the winter holiday, examples of other strategic plans that have been developed. I think Harrison, is that Harrison Township? Yeah, one has sent out to all you. If I would ask for you to look that over. If you haven't done so, if you need it to be sent out again, you can speak to Mr. Hirth or I about getting that sent out. We spoke briefly in council at those times, if my memory serves correct, about how we might structure that type of a committee. Again, it wouldn't be something that made decisions without the full council, but kind of a working group to bring decisions to the full group. And What I ideally believe would be the case is if we had the chairs of each of our three committees, chair of executive, chair of finance, chair of community engagement, as kind of leading, looking at that and meeting on their own time as part of working on that. Now, a lot of that has to do with the availability of those chairs and whether they're able to do that. But I am looking for input, as I've said in the past, with the administration on how best to structure that. I also want to take this opportunity, speaking of the committees, to introduce Zachary Michelson, who's with us here today. I'm going to give him an opportunity to share a little bit about himself and answer any questions that you may have. Mr. Marks has been holding the residential chair, the residence chair, one of the residence chairs on executive committee prior to coming back on board as a council member. So we've been talking about how we need to refill that chair with a resident, and we took applications on that, and Zach was one of the people who reached out about that, and I have had the opportunity to discuss it with him, and I will be making that appointment tonight. So there it is, my appointment of Mr. Michelson to the committee. Would you like to introduce yourself, please?
Sure. My name is Zachary Michelson, Zach for short. Been a resident for a little over 7 years in Gulf Manor. Grew up in Cleveland, Ohio. Came down here for university and just kind of hang on after, fell in love with the Cincinnati area. I worked with the Jewish Federation just down Ridge Road on the corner of Ridge and Ronald Reagan, where I'm the data systems administrator. And a little bit about myself, I like to go camping and play fast pitch softball. And I look forward to, meeting all of you and learning a lot and, helping whatever way I can.
Awesome. Thank you, sir. Really appreciate your service to the community. And let's see, next thing I have, do we have copies of the tree program? We do. All right, so this was formulated, I'm thinking it might have even been as early as November that I first submitted this, was requested and submitted it to the administration. So we've, if you recall, I've been talking about a grant that I made a pitch for. It wasn't a existing grant. It was something that I wrote up a proposal and said, we'd like to have some money for this, and here's how we'll spend it. This is for the tree program, and it's written up here. Funding's been granted by the Duke Energy Foundation for the Mayor's Tree Program. The goal of the program is to increase tree canopy in the village from its current level of 30.5% to over 40% for climate resiliency, prioritizing the creation of shade along streets, sidewalks within the community gathering areas. Program lead, unless otherwise noted, is the Mayor of Gulf Manor. Under the direction of program lead, a list of trees native to southwestern Ohio will be collected, as well as price points researched for the purchasing of each tree listed, and the recommended season of planting for each. Compilation of this information will be referred to as the tree list. Residential tree planting, Mayor will announce a tree lottery in the spring for the participation of interested residents. Interested residents will provide their name, address, contact information, tree of interest selected from the tree list, and proposed location of planting. Mayor will keep a list of the applicants' requested trees and the financial tally of purchasing those trees. 2/3 of the granted funding will be designated for these purchases. These funds will be referred to as the Residential Tree Fund. Applications proposing tree placement along residential streets, walking, and parking areas will be prioritized. Variances may be supported by the village where the proposed placement of trees violates current ordinances. If at the end of the application period, the requested trees exceed the residential tree fund, then prioritized applications will take precedence and a lottery held to select among the remaining non-prioritized applications. If more prioritized applications exist than afforded by the Residential Tree Fund, a lottery of prioritized applications will be held. Responsibility for tree pickup and planting will be the property owner or their designated group of volunteers. Trees for use in community gathering areas. 1/3 of the granted funds will be used to plant trees in community gathering areas. Ththese funds will be referred to as the Community Tree Fund. Village administration may use a portion of these funds to offset the cost of staff hours used for planting trees in these areas. Tree selection and placement will be at the discretion of the village council using the tree list. And then on the back is a draft of the tree application, so you have a sense of that. And I wanted to announce that Dr. Herzog has been working with me on this, and he's putting together the tree list. So he's already done the research on native canopy trees in the Cincinnati area. He'll be putting together the price points. I've instructed him to use at least 3 sources when looking at price points for what the trees cost and gathering that information. And so he's kind of a point person for putting together the tree list thing here for folks to choose. So I wanted to put that out to you guys so that you could spread the word on it, what that looks like. And
Question.
sure.
So, for the trees, you mentioned along walkways and things like that.
Yeah.
Is there gonna be consideration if we're planting trees that do not interfere and tear up sidewalks?
Absolutely. We have ordinances on the books, I
Okay,
believe, already.
the choice of the trees would have to be deep rooted trees, not trees that spread. Or we could, so when we
it's-
select the trees, will that happen or not?
The purpose of this is canopy trees, which are very large trees. So yeah, over the course of like 100 years, probably gonna, we can certainly look at that. But yeah, the whole idea is to plant some really large trees.
Okay.
So they're, with the issue of how close these should be to sidewalks and everything, absolutely
Okay.
pertinent point to be making. And as I said, I believe we have ordinances on the books already concerning that in special circumstances. And I believe that, variances are held by the planning committee and everything, so that it would go through that process. Do want to make it clear to residents that there are opportunities, there is a pathway for variances, and that, how to approach with regard to that.
I'm not sure we have any ordinance
I don't think we do.
trees
I
and
thought
where
there
to
was,
plant
you weren't
them.
allowed to plant between the sidewalk and the street.
That's
That,
the berm.
that's for the
I'm
right
talking about
of
near
way.
the sidewalk,
But,
your property.
Gotcha.
I think it's gonna have to be something kind of controlled administratively, because it's not covered by zoning, it's not covered anywhere else.
Right.
Yeah.
So we have to be careful about where people plant these so that
Yeah.
it doesn't tear up the sidewalk.
Well, and as you can see, it's the proposed location is what it says on the
Yeah.
application
Okay.
that we put in.
Yeah.
It's been.
That's
thought
what I
out
mean,
with
I think it needs to
yeah.
be handled administratively, because I don't even know how you draft an ordinance to control where.
Right. Yeah, yeah.
But there are large canopy trees that go straight down, they don't spread out.
Okay.
It's important to choose those kind of trees. Maples. Okay. No
The,
problem.
I believe the last thing that I have here is to update you on 2 guest speakers that we're going to have. If you recall from my mayor's report, the last time that we met, folks from Metro were wanting to get together with us to discuss their asset investment for the rapid transit. These were things like, what do we think our community would prioritize in terms of their investment on the actual bus vehicles. They're talking about revamping the fleet with things like more Wi-Fi. They've talked about having same level access, so you're not going up steps onto the bus. Sometimes that can speed up how fastly a bus can make a stop and go. People aren't having to go up steps. So they want to come and talk about that and get our feedback as to what we think the preferences of our community would be in terms of the different assets that they're looking at in investing in. So we have determined the date for them. That will be our next February council meeting on the 27th. They'll be here. I also mentioned that Dr. Bronson, who was previously the president of the Cincinnati Dental Association, also president of the Ohio Dental Association, and then I was unclear on whether he was vice president or president as well as the National Dental Association. He will be visiting to talk about access to care issues. Some council members had raised the possibility of us perhaps having community events where he could speak directly to the community. I'll be speaking with our First Suburbs group as well to see if we can put together something large. This is more of him just talking to us and us gauging his interest in doing something like that. And we set a date for that. That will be the first meeting we have in March, the 13th, is when Dr. Bronson will be here. So with that, that concludes my report. And I will ask Mr. Hirth for the Village Administrator's.
Thank you. So, road season is heating up. The pre-construction meeting for the Weehee project will be Wednesday, February 15th at 10 a.m. in this room. We'll be getting together with the contractor and various utility companies and folks that'll be involved with the actual construction of the curbs in the road and so forth. Will be represented with the police department, service departments, to start coordinating that particular project. Subsequently, after that, we'll be having a town hall meeting for the residents of Weehee and businesses with some of those same folks to answer questions about the project. We've already gotten a few inquiries from businesses about maintaining traffic and those kinds of things. So we're aware of that need and we'll make sure that things stay floating for them. Elbrook, to report on that, there was a stormwater drain collapse that took place in the 6400 block as they were doing the trenching for the water pipe. This was not caused by the trenching. It was something that had already happened, and we've experienced some issues there already. Unfortunately, that's one of those things that when it happens, you got to take care of it. And with it being a stormwater drain, it is the responsibility of the village. So it was not an MSD issue. So we have the construction company who's working on the water pipe is giving us a good price on fixing that. Englewood Canterbury Road construction bid will be opening in the packets Wednesday of, let's see, February 14th. What day is this?
Tomorrow.
That's tomorrow, yeah. I keep thinking Valentine's Day Wednesday, and it's Tuesday. So we're opening the bids for that tomorrow morning at 11 o'clock again in this room. And we'll have probably that contract in front of council on the February 27th meeting. Water main replacement on an Englewood and Canterbury continues, as the mayor and I well know. That is going to be a project that continues for a while. Let's see, looking here real quick. The basement clean out has been in progress and is pretty much done. If you go down, you would be surprised the amount of room that's down there now that a lot of the stuff has been removed. The maintenance department needs to be given a lot of kudos on getting that together and organized, and appreciate the police department participating in getting rid of some of the stuff that was down there too. So I know some of the officers came in on other times that weren't their shift to help with that cleanup effort. We appreciate that.
Denise Jill worked really hard.
That's what I heard. Denise.
Officer Matthews.
And Denise, yes.
Yes.
I sent everybody an email this morning from the Hamilton County Emergency Management Group. There is a 2018 multi-hazard mitigation plan that the village has participated in previously. All jurisdictions in Hamilton County have a plan through this. And what this allows us to do is that if something would happen where there would be a FEMA-related type of event that takes place that we would qualify for federal disaster relief and aid, we have to have our plan in place and ready to go. Last time this was updated was in 2018, so this is the 2023 update. I participated in this a couple of times. It's a workshop essentially, where you get together on a round table with your community. You get to interact with some of the other communities, talk about some of the things that you're trying to accomplish or that you have needs for if there were to be a disaster in your area. And in the link that I sent you this morning, this is a public record. You can go to this page that I've got up on the website here, and this will have the entire plan in it. And it's a big plan. And if you dig through deep enough, you'll find Gulf Manor's pages. What we would like to do On Friday, March 3rd, from 9 a.m. to 12 p.m., the administration, so our department heads, myself, Mr. Pridenoff, Ms. Bergen, Mr. Putoff, Chief Campbell, so on and so forth, we are going to participate in that particular workshop. We would like to have council members, if you can be available to participate then. However, there are 5 other times that you can go to this workshop if you wish to. We just think it would be better if we can all do it as a group, if we can. And the Friday, March 3rd, 9 to 12 was the best time for all of us to be able to get together. So if you plan on doing this, let me know what your date is. And then you have to self-register through the website. And let's see, where did I go here? So there will be a link. Click here to register for the meeting that's in your email.
What time is it again, Mr.?
It's
9 a.m.
Friday, March 3rd, 9 a.m. to 12 p.m.
Thank you.
It goes pretty quickly and it's pretty intense, but it's a great participation practice and you also get to network with people from some of the other communities. If there's any way that we can all do it together, it's helpful. If not, that's okay. We'll deal with it and they will collect all the data from all the different sessions and then compile it at the very end. But we also would invite our legal team to join us. Also, they're asking for an all hands on deck with us. So,
Ron, you said the village is providing lunch, right?
I'm sorry, say that again.
You said the village was providing lunch for that?
I don't think so.
Well, seems appropriate.
I think it's a brown bag event.
It's an Evendale.
Bring a little brown bag.
Mr. Hurst, did you send that email to me?
I did not send it to Donald. I'll do that.
If you wouldn't mind.
Yeah,
So I
we'll
can
get it to you.
Register.
I can forward it.
And let's see, I think that's everything. That is my report.
You skipped economic development.
I'm sorry.
Economic development, I think.
I passed that because we're going to have an executive session.
Yeah, okay. So I should take that off.
All right, sir. Thank you, Mr. Hurth. Chief Campbell, do you have our police report?
Yeah. First thing I have is the mayor's court report for the month of January. Total to the village, $5,074. Total to the state, $1,554. Total to the county, $54, for a grand total of $6,682. That is the end of the January mayor's court report.
Any questions? Is there a
Motion
motion?
to accept.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Right.
No objection, I'll take that as unanimous. Thank you.
I've also forwarded a citation log of the citations that were written that month. The numbers will always be different because citations can be paid from months and months previous. But I wanted council to see the increase in activity with respect to traffic enforcement. Some of the step car shifts have started, and so we'll see the activity increase as those shifts are filled.
Perfect.
That is all I have on that. And then we discussed the corporal position that we're proposing. I don't know. I think everybody was here for that. I don't know if we need to go over it again.
We can probably bring it up during executive report if need be. Okay.
Chief, can I ask a quick question with the STEPS program? That's been in effect, for a month now, 2 months?
More or less. It started slow because of the time of the year. We started, with the holidays. So as people have been freed up, they're starting to run some shifts. And then we're looking at where the traffic patterns dictate the best time to work these are. So we haven't seen a ton of shifts. I think there were 2 shifts worked this previous pay period. I think as the weather breaks and we collect more specific data on where to direct people, those shifts will increase.
Thank you, sir.
Has anybody had any feedback or seen any reactions about the number of police cars that they've seen or anything like that? I know there was some buzz about the lights being on at night.
I've just had people tell me they have now noticing.
I see it, feel like I see them all the time now.
Well, it's funny because they're always there. And I was kind of talking to one of our members, and I think one of the issues is the F-150 is used at night, and it's just not a noticeable car
Yes.
in the dark. So it's probably going by people's house, 5 or 6 times a night, and somebody's like, I never see a police car. It's a black pickup truck with subdued graphics on it, so the beacon lights help.
I've just as a resident, I've seen it a lot myself, and I've certainly heard many people pointing out that they're seeing the blue lights. I think you're correct in assuming that that's really increased people's awareness of the patrols.
There's been comments in the Gulf Manor Facebook group about people wondering what it was about. We were able to explain it, so.
Any other questions for the chief? If not, I'll turn it over to the solicitor.
Oh, thank you. Our report's in front of you. We've got 2 ordinances. One's on for the 3rd meeting this evening. That is regarding the the rules for the village park. Parks, plural. We made a few changes that were suggested at the last meeting. Other than that, it's ready for a 3rd reading if council chooses. It can be passed this evening, even though there's only 4 members, but it would have to be unanimous.
So everyone
Make a
had,
motion to read by title only?
Second.
all right, all in favor?
Aye.
Right.
An ordinance amending section 931.01 of the Code of Ordinances to update rules and regulations for the use of village parks.
Could you review briefly, just as we have several people in our audience here who may not know of the most recent things that we kind of added into that?
It was a lot about simply the form to make it clear when alcohol would be allowed, who could have alcohol in the park. Also, we tried to more clearly define what a council event would be. Other than that, I think that was it. Yeah.
So everybody had an opportunity to look at it and kind of approve of the wording of those changes that were made? And,
Yeah, I reviewed it and I like the changes that were done. I just had one last concern about it. I want to ask you about is it still seems to leave an opening for if anybody or an event wants to have alcohol there, to give it away.
Mm-hmm.
So they don't have to have a permit or it's still allowed,
No,
you know.
no person shall possess or consume alcoholic beverage except for prior liquor authorization. So somebody couldn't just give it away without going to the
Okay.
village.
All right.
So the
That's
first
what
sentence
captured
there.
it? Okay.
Yeah.
First sentence.
Okay.
Make a motion?
Did we ever discuss fees? It says over here there will be fees.
I think they were going to be set
Except.
administratively
Yeah, we're gonna do that through administration rather than the ordinance, so
Right.
if we make changes.
because they'll
we
be
just need that
modified
in
periodically, I'd
administration.
imagine.
We talked about putting those, you may not be here, we talked about putting those on the permits.
Mhm.
So that they can be adjusted or amended.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Marks. And if we could just give pause for Councilman Fisher, kind of catch up on this. You were not here at our previous discussion of this, I believe. So there's, if you have any questions, please, I think Mr. Marks probably can clarify them for you. We're all good. All right, any other questions? Are we prepared for a motion
I
for a vote?
make a motion to approve the third reading.
Motion, actually-
I wanted to repeat it because,
Motion to adopt.
motion to
Really?
adopt ordinance 2023-1.
All right, seconded by Van Horn. Roll call vote.
Ms. Cheney?
Yes.
Mr. Marks?
Yes.
Mr. Fisher?
Yes.
Mr. Van Horn?
Yes.
Good, thank you. The second ordinance is ordinance number 2023-2. It regards additional pages to the Code of Ordinances. Our publisher updates the code once a year based on legislation that we've passed, changes in state law that's identical to our law. I have prepared this as an emergency. However, because we only have 4 members, we can't do that. So all we can do this evening is a first reading.
Motion to read by title only.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Ordinance number 2023-2, an ordinance to approve current replacement pages to the Gulf Manor codified ordinances and declaring an emergency. Of course, we can't do that. We can't pass it this evening. So you can pass it as a first reading or approve it as first reading.
Any discussion? Can you give us I know you gave us a legislative memo on it, but for the benefit of our audience, a brief description about what we're talking about.
Sure. Well, again, over the course of the year, we pass ordinances that become law. They then go in our book, our green book, which is sitting over there. There's one down at the county law library. There's one that should be outside for people to look at, and we also have it online. This ordinance adopts these pages, which codifies the ordinances that you pass throughout the year. In other words, it makes them part of our ordinance book, our set of ordinances. And again, it also references and modifies or state law that we adopt that might have been modified throughout the year.
So the state has laws that are made periodically. We don't necessarily discuss those here, but they get put in this book, and this is us saying, yes, we recognize that
right.
we're in the state of Ohio and these are the laws.
Right. There's certain, as I state, we're home rule, so we can legislate on virtually anything other than what the state has already preempted. So, for example, a DUI, we can't really legislate on a DUI other than to make the punishment harsher, but we can't really change the state statute in any other way. So typically, we'll just adopt the state statute as part of the ordinances.
Any questions?
So if I may, the ordinances are collected by the assistant clerk's office and they are compiled. This would be the earliest we've ever codified our ordinances because we're on top of it now. So if you recall, 2 years ago, we were 4 years behind because it was a process that was unwieldy. Actually publishing things on the website as we do it now also helps us with that process. So this allows, once you go to the website for the codified ordinances, this is now all updated and is valid up until the dates that are listed in the ordinance.
I want to thank the administration work on that. It is a great resource to be able to get online and look at, well, what are the rules? What are the rules in Gulf Manor? What do the ordinances say? And this is a process of making sure that that website is updated and everything. So, and that requires work to do that. And
Well, I want to recognize Carolyn Johnson, our clerk, for actually she's a part-time clerk for spearheading this project. So
good. Thank you. All right. Do we have a motion?
Motion to approve first reading of ordinance 2023-2.
Is there a second?
Second.
Cheney, second. All right. Roll call.
Ms. Cheney?
Yes.
Mr. Fisher?
Yes.
Mr. Marks?
Yes.
Mr. Van Horn?
Yes.
Very good. So first reading passes.
Sir, that's all I have. Thank you.
All right. Thank you. Mr. Van Horn, Executive Committee report.
This executive committee met tonight and we had a lengthy discussion just reviewing the new corporal position which is being formed within the police department. I'll let Chief explain it a little bit first and. Oh, did everybody hear? Oh, y'all heard it, okay. So,
For the benefit of the people that, we do have residents that are attending.
oh yeah, sorry, I heard it. Then Chief, why don't you do it? You'll be better at explaining.
Yeah, we're looking at a corporal position. It's It's the first step into supervision. It's a first line supervisor. It's somebody that's on duty, that's responding to calls and runs and doing police services, but is tasked with, responsibility of supervising the people they're working with. It recognizes and kind of gives formality to the structure of who has responsibility for that shift. It's a step going towards sergeant, followed by lieutenant and up the line there. But it's basically the first step into supervision. It gives the PD a chance to expose an officer to that extra responsibility. Gives that officer a chance to experience it, see if it's something they want to do, and gives us a pool to choose from when it's time for somebody to take that next step forward in supervision. It doesn't. It falls within our fee structure already. We have room in there to incentivize people wanting to be interested in this position, and it helps liability for the police department to have more supervisors available to cover those shifts. That's my quick summary.
Yes, very good, thank you.
So we were gonna have a motion to ask council to adopt that. Is that how that went?
I believe so. I think that was the administration's recommendation.
So you adopted a recommendation for the full council to adopt the position.
Yes.
Chief, you said it was already within your structure?
It would fall within the pay structure.
Okay.
We have room within the patrolman salary that if we have somebody that's a patrol officer, and they meet the criteria to promote to corporal,
Mhm.
we have room for growth
Okay.
within that. We don't have
Okay.
to create.
So you don't have a position already that's just not filled?
It's correct.
Okay.
So the wording of the motion that we would need here to adopt this.
Recommendation to the full council to adopt the position of corporal for the police department.
Thank you, Mr.
Is there a second?
Second, does he make?
Yeah, what he said.
Yeah, he said what he
I
said.
wasn't
so he
sure
said-
that he made the motion.
I'll make the motion of what he said.
I'll have what he said. Second.
Mr. Marks, second.
So
That all
that's,
makes
I have,
sense.
let's, okay, so Mr. Van Hart made a motion to recommend council approve the creation of the position of the
Adopt.
corporal,
It's called police patrol corporal.
adopt the position.
Well, wait a minute, aren't we just approving the
Right, that's what I
creation
thought.
of the position of corporal,
So just approving the creation of position, which
of
is
corporal?
within the
for
chief's
police?
purview anyway. We're just
Right,
giving
right,
Right,
I agree with you.
I'm saying we're just giving our,
Yeah,
Our
What we-
blessing.
Blessing.
yeah,
Yes.
in that regard,
Those
could
for the-
just,
okay,
Yeah.
so
Kumbaya.
Mr. Van Hart made a motion to recommend council to approve the creation of the
Police patrol
police
corporal.
patrol corporal position.
All right, everything, the I's dotted. All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Without objection, I'll take that as unanimous. Thank you for your work on this, administration, Chief Gamble, executive committee.
We also had a pretty lengthy discussion about the landlord tenant issues that we had in the village we've been trying to address for a long time. We've been waiting for the state before we actually took any action, but after some discussion, we decided to put our toe in the water and take some action. So Mr. Putoff and Mr. Butler are gonna work together to put maybe the first steps in place for us to review probably at the next council, or well, for executive to review next time, and then we'll send it done. Head of report.
Great, thank you. Any questions for Mr. Van Hart? All right, let's see, Planning Commission meets next on March 6th. Do you have a report?
We did not have a meeting on
Okay.
February, no business.
All right, so next meeting is March 6th, 6:30 PM, pending any business. Community engagement, I heard from Ms. Snyder that she would not be able to be here this evening. I am unclear on whether there was a report that she had. Has she spoken to anyone to provide a report this evening?
Yeah, Matt.
Okay, so I know the next time community engagement will be meeting is February 21st at 9:30 a.m. That's Tuesday. And Ms. Cheney, do you have an education?
Yeah, real short. The PRM construction of the new addition onto the building, the bids are due this week, February 17th. The process for construction will begin March 1st, and the building should be complete by fall of 2025. And this is from Superintendent Wright. She gave it to me.
Is this an addition to the building, or how are they doing it?
Addition is going on the second floor.
Oh,
It'll be a second floor.
Fine.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
When is
the
it
plans
begun?
are.
How long?
Hmm?
2024?
Yeah, next year. I kind of doubt it. Maybe
It's quick.
Sorry, that was fall 2023 or 24?
24. Yeah,
Yeah.
So that's a year and a half.
here.
Okay, all right, just making sure I have the minutes.
It'll be interesting because those apartments across the street will be going at the same time. A lot of construction.
Yeah, I was gonna say, wouldn't want to drive through there.
And maybe the ones off Lozannaville.
Los Angeles, right? True.
All
That's all I
right.
have.
One
Thank you, Ms.
comment, I don't know if I said this last time, if I did. Are you aware that the PRM moved up from the failing school thing
Yes.
to Ohio? So now Ed Choice is no longer available to the private schools in the area. Now, if you already have it, Ed Choice, they will be honored through the.
That wasn't mentioned in our meeting
So-
last week, so
I actually believe the timeline on that is there's like it's the next year.
Next
then.
year.
So next year, if your kids aren't already enrolled and the Ed Choice the applications are all through this year for next year. So anyone who has kids in private school have this year to get their preschoolers into kindergarten. And then once they're in kindergarten or in another grade, then that Ed Choice voucher will continue for as long as they remain in Cincinnati Public Schools.
Right. Or if you have a child now that's in fourth grade, you've been getting it.
Right.
They will continue,
Yeah.
but
Correct.
They would also honor their brothers. Meaning if I have kids in a private school, I get Ed Choice, and then I have another kid, once I'm in the system, the next kid also get it. I think they passed that last year.
All right.
And they passed, just recently, they passed it up the amount for the Ed Choice, for the low income, they up to 250%.
Would you be willing to present a report on that? Because this is information that I am
didn't
unclear
know it
on.
was approved. I thought it was being proposed. Is it approved?
It went to the Warren's desk and put it through. Warren put it through. So the question is how long is going to take to get into effect? That's something else. But he approved
Yeah, he
But
just
I'll-
signed legislation, right?
it. He signed it.
yeah, obviously that may have an enrollment effect on PRM now too. Because obvious reasons, so.
You
Did
may
that change because of levels, or that changed because they changed the system, how they grade it?
change the way they grade it.
Great.
Oh, they did, okay.
So
Yeah.
that's like a cheap way of doing it.
Yeah.
Well, how much faith you have in
And the
in
grading
the system.
anyway.
So, thank you, Ms. Cheney. Anything else?
Good job.
Awesome. So let's see. Finance Committee did not meet this evening. Mr. Fisher, do you have anything to report other than our next Finance Committee meeting, which will be 7 p.m. on the 27th at 6 p.m. Yes. Anything else? All right, then I'll make a few announcements now that we usually will make after when we're preparing to adjourn. Remind everyone that we are getting ready to, there'll be a motion for us to go into an executive session, which is where we meet privately. We're not allowed to make any votes during that time, but we do have to kind of kick out everyone else that's not invited for that specific meeting. We're doing a meeting that's based on purchase of property, and so we can't discuss that openly because it could mess with the, with the cost. Basically, if someone finds out that we're trying to buy it and everything, so it's one of the areas where we're allowed to meet kind of secretly, so long as we're not voting, and we will be doing that here next. I'm going to read some of our announcements before I ask for a motion for that. Let's see our next meetings. As we mentioned, Finance Committee will be meeting at 6 p.m. on February 27th. Our full council meeting will be at 7 p.m. We will have the guest speakers from Metro at that meeting discussing the asset investment that we believe our community would be interested in. On Monday, then March 13th, would be our next meeting, which is executive committee at 6 p.m., followed by our full council at 7 p.m. And the executive committee will be, misread that. We'll have our guest speaker, Dr. Bronson, will be meeting us at that full council meeting at that time. Any other announcements before I ask for a motion to go into executive session?
I had asked Mr. Michelson if he would touch base with me after tonight's meeting so we can get him set up for the committee.
Yes, and I'm going to invite Mr. Michelson to the executive session, given that he is in a role on the executive committee now, and it just helps with not having to.
Mr. Somebody else.
Yeah, I believe Mr. Simile would be invited as well as members of active council meetings, of council committees. Right. So is there a motion? And we'll need to do this by roll call.
Motion to move to executive session to discuss property acquisitions.
Is there a second?
Second.
All right, roll call, please.
Ms. Cheney,
Yes.
Mr. Fisher,
Yes.
Mr. Marks,
Yes.
Mr. Van Horn.
Yes.
All right, we're moving to executive session, so thank you. And Mr. Simile, could
And
you
we're clear.